Alright, hello everybody, welcome back. We're in our second episode of our sourdough series of making Ukrainian sourdough bread. So now that we've let our bread sit for about an hour after incorporating the ingredients, we're going to do a stretch and fold. So a stretch and fold is exactly what it sounds like. You stretch the dough and fold it. Stretch the dough and fold it. Stretch the dough and fold it. What this does is it strengthens the gluten inside the bread, inside the dough, to make it nice and strong. You want strong gluten in order for it to develop into a nice result. So we'll do this about once every hour, and then we'll let it bulk ferment. And yeah, that's it. We'll come back in another hour and do another stretch and fold.
1 hour later.
Alright, this is the second stretch and fold. Nice elasticity. Right, then just kind of move it back into a ball and then let it sit for another hour.
One hour later.
Alright, now we're doing our third stretch and fold. You're starting to see fermentation of the dough and air bubbles. It's nice to pop those air bubbles to keep the surface tension strong on the bread.
5 hours later.
Hello everyone, so it's been about 5 hours that the bread has been sitting and bulk fermenting. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's the temperature. So we can see the temperature's a bit higher. I put it in the oven with the light on. So right now it's around close to 24.6 degrees Celsius, and so that's a good temperature for it to be bulk fermenting. So it's about to the point where I'm ready to put it into the banneton, and so what we're going to do is we're going to pre-shape it before we do our final shape. So we're going to go ahead and flip it on its end, and we're going to let it slowly come out of the bowl. See, it's going slowly. It's coming out ever so slowly. Alright. Now we're going to moisten our hands and we're going to do a pre-shape. This shaping process is what gives strengthens again the gluten bonds inside the bread to allow it to keep its form while it's being baked. As you can see on the surface of the bread, the dough is air bubbles, and so if you want to keep good surface tension, we'll go ahead and pop those air bubbles. You don't have to do this, but it helps improve the surface tension and gives you a better end result. So let's go ahead and get this a nice shape, and then we'll go, after we get to the shape we want, we'll let it sit for another 20 minutes, and then we'll do a final shaping, which is more of a roll. I don't know if you can see that.
Twenty minutes later.
Now we're in the process of doing our final shaping before we put it into our banneton. A banneton is just some, a wooden package to help let the bread rise, and we use this for our cold fermentation process. So put a little bit of flour inside. Let's use rice flour so that the dough doesn't absorb the flour. The rice flour has no gluten, so it's acts as a good kind of loop thing to help prevent it from sticking to the terry cloth inside the Banneton. So we're gonna just put a light sprinkle of flour, the rice flour, on top of the dough, and we're gonna go ahead and give that a nice flip. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and give it a good old stretch it out. This is gonna help us to do our final shaping, which is basically kind of rolling it up just like a Tootsie Roll or a fruit roll up. We're gonna roll it up and just pop it right on in our beautiful Banneton. So it's a beautiful dough ready to go. All right. So add some flour to my hands. Alright, and we're going to just go ahead and roll this guy up. Alright, so let's go ahead and tuck in the sides, tuck in the bottom, tuck in this side, tuck in this side. Alright, and we'll go ahead and place this in our Banneton. And last thing we're going to do is going to just stitch it up. Stitch up our bread. This helps, another thing to help build the gluten strength. Alright. Once that's done, we'll give another nice coating of flour. Doesn't stick. And then we'll pop it in the fridge for at least 24 hours. You can do up to 48 hours. And then we'll cook it for its cold retard process. So, yeah. Now it's off to the fridge.
24 hours later.
Hello everybody. Welcome back. It's been about 24 hours that the dough has been sitting in the fridge, and now we are ready to score it and bake it. So the oven has been preheated to 230 degrees Celsius, and now all we need to do is score it, place it in our baking device, our Dutch oven. I use a glass Dutch oven, and bake for approximately 30 minutes. So here's our bread. It looks good. We're gonna go ahead and give it a nice score. I like to score it along this edge. About a whoop, there's it forming apart. Let's use my hand. Let's go ahead and score this. Nice even cut, approximately 45-degree angle. Make sure it's good and deep. And then I like to do a little design on the top. Make sure this gives it the wheat signature of the Ukrainian harvest. They do this every harvest. Make the wheat bread with the buckwheat infusion. So now that we have our bread scored like so, we'll go place it into our glass Dutch oven like so. Another thing I like to do is I'll maybe give it a nice little spritz to allow those air bubbles to form on the outside. It makes a beautiful crust this way. And we'll go ahead and pop this into our oven. Cook this for about 30 minutes.
20 minutes later.
Alright, so we're nearing the 5-minute mark. Time to check on our bread. We just took out the lid to expose the outside to let the outer crust brown better. Alright, whoa, there's some steam up in there, looking good. Alright, maybe another couple minutes and we're good to go.
5 minutes later.
Alright, so it's about time. The bread is finished cooking and we're going to take it out to cool on our... Alright. There you go. Looks pretty good. Nice browned crust. We're gonna go ahead and let this cool for about an hour, and then we'll go ahead and cut it down the middle and observe the crumb.
1 hour later.
Hello everybody, we're back, and here is a picture of the cooled bread out of its Dutch oven. You can get a nice, as you can see, there's the bubbling on the surface here is from the spray bottle that we sprayed along the top. This adds a lot of nice texture and flavor to the crust of the bread. You can see where I made my deep score on the edge of the bread here and how it's risen. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and cut the bread down the middle and take a look at the crumb. Alright. Alright, there we go. Take a look at that crumb. A nice fluffy crumb. Pretty good even distribution of the air bubbles. Very light, very fluffy. You can see kind of springs back nicely. And that's how you make your Ukrainian buckwheat sourdough bread. Thank you for joining us.